Okay, I figured out my key to success, now I'm locked in. I learned how to open doors like a locksmith. I'm uptown, I'm the one they wanna shop with. Run off with the bag even though we don't shoplift. All that gun talk y'all want, I'm not with. It's not cool, everybody got them long clips. You gon' mess around and get one of your dogs hit. And when you do, I hope you know you're not John Wick.
What up? Welcome back. Appreciate you locking in with us. I'm Atwood. Killer to my left here, DK.
What's up?
On the mat to the Next Element Academy. So we're going to kind of pick up where we were supposed to, I guess, leave off last week. We never really got around to talking about like injury and fighting through injury.
Yeah. And that was after the O'Malley fight.
Right.
It's like we were supposed to talk about the O'Malley fight and then everything. And then we had Cameron Shane on.
Yep.
And then, so for 2 weeks or so,
yeah,
we've been meaning to talk about
we
this.
just kind of like went in different directions, which is fine.
And that's like I explained on my Facebook when I was sharing our account. You know, we're trying to get to over 1,000 subscribers. You know, so every little bit helps. So I posted on there. I was like, man, we shoot straight from the hip, really. It's like,
it's very rare that we come in here with a solid game plan of what we're going to talk about, early on. And that's the thing with doing podcasts too, man. When we're up to like 74 episodes now, right? So early on, they were like, we had a game plan for every episode, but it gets to a point, right, where it's like, all right, we talked about that, time to move on to something. And then it's like
you hit all those points and then you got to like fill in the gaps. And if you're not like, so I think we've just found like, if you like watch like a lot of the earlier ones, you'll see Atwood have his computer
laptop, and I got my notes
out. He's got his notes out. He's being all professional and stuff. And so it's like now we've I don't know. We've gotten, with time it gets easier.
Yeah, you get more comfortable.
You get more comfortable.
Yeah,
so,
and it actually works out, right? Because we're going to talk about O'Malley and the injury, fighting through the injury. And then this past weekend with Renato Moicano. So, it all works out. But apparently, Sean had torn his labrum in his hip.
Was it his hip or shoulder?
I think it was his hip.
All right, cool.
And that was before the fight with Marab. Now, have you ever had like a injury like that in the hip?
So, man, I've been dealing with back pain for a long time. So my main fault has been back pain and sciatica and like my L5 S1, which is way down at the bottom.
What does the S stand for?
I think that's like your sacrum area.
Okay.
That little
low too.
Yeah, that's lower. So L5 is like your lower, your I think lowest lumbar.
Yeah.
So anyways,
well, I asked because I didn't know. Obviously, it sounds like something it's painful, especially when you throw a lot of kicks. But I wasn't sure if you had ever dealt with that kind of thing and could speak firsthand.
So if it's his hip, then he didn't throw a lot of kicks. He didn't throw as many of those front kicks as he usually did until the end, and he started getting
in like the 5th round.
And so. But here's the thing about injuries, man. Going into a fight and you have an injury and it bothers you in sparring and certain things, when certain things happen in a sparring match, right? You don't want them to happen in the fight, right? So we saw him not, doing a lot of switch stepping and he's, different things like that. So his mobility may have been down with his hip. And then that also takes away the way he turns over his hips and really rotates. Man, let me just double check and make sure it is his hip, because
I thought I saw him say something about it, and say that it was his hip, but they can get like cortisone shots and shit like that, right?
So let's talk. Yeah, so we can talk about that. Yeah, he's about to have hip surgery. Yep.
Because I would imagine that they probably gave him a cortisone shot beforehand to help.
Torn labrum in his hip 10 weeks ago, but managed the injury through a fight camp. And so here's the thing about fight. Yeah, he might have stem cells. He definitely he seems like a guy that, you know, did all the right things. Like,
Probably, yeah.
you know, like if you've followed O'Malley for a little bit of time, he does all the things that a lot of fighters don't really know what to do, right? How to take care of themselves to recover faster, right? So he does like red light therapy, infrared sauna. He does the cold plunge. He does the breath work, right? He does all that stuff, you know. I remember watching a video of him, and he's got this little recovery room. He calls it a recovery room. He has all these different things, red light. He sits in front of every morning. The dude reads in the mornings. Like, you know, he's just not out there just fighting, right? Or in the gym. It's all these things together that combine with your fighting, like we were talking about last week in the law of attraction, you know? And so when one of your tools isn't working,
a big tool
that's part of your body, right? So it's, you know, my knee has been going in and out of place. Sometimes you favor that a little bit too much, and you don't go 100% with it because you know something's gonna happen, you know, or mess up with it. So,
and sometimes like it's almost like you're favoring it and you don't even know. That's what I went through with my knee injury. And didn't even know I was favoring it.
Yeah, you're not trying to show it, right?
Yeah, you're like overcompensating subconsciously.
Yeah. And so, you know, with him kind of just being on the back pedal, I think he was worried about the takedown and the sprawl because of the hip, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, or different things like
or
that.
Like being on your back, and like there's different times where I'm rolling and I'm on my back, and you know, somebody stacks me or something. It's like,
yeah.
So that could be bad too.
Yeah.
But all that being said, like
he still fought 5 rounds,
right? And in the 5th round, I think that's kind of like where he hit his, you know, fuck it point and just started.
Firing off. And he was probably a little bit more warmed up, so you know he probably didn't feel it, you know, by that point in time. For me, when my back was injured, I remember driving up to Jersey from Alabama, and I got in like West Virginia or something like that, and man, I had the worst sciatica just hit me out of nowhere from sitting down in the car so long. And my left leg was just like, man, it was terrible. So I ended up I was going to AMA Fight Club in Whippany, New Jersey at the time. And I get there. I get to practice an hour early. And I warm up that whole hour, running around, kicking, doing high leg kicks, sideways, foam rolling. Like,
that didn't make it worse?
No, man. Well, the sciatica, what happens is, usually with sciatica, your muscles get tensed up, and, you know, it's a nerve. You know, there's something going on with the nerve. So when you start heating up the muscle and make them more loose and more pliable, it helps relax the tension around the nerve, so it's not just clamped around the nerve so much.
Right.
This is my thought process about it. You know, there's probably another terms for it, like for real. But to me, when I foam roll and I, you know, ice bath and I, you know, stretch and do those things, man, it helps my back pain so much more, you know, because everything's not just so tight and compact and just starting to calcify from where it hasn't moved, or, you know what I'm saying? So, anyways, who knows, man? He was just he definitely probably got it taken care of, you know?
Yeah.
But now he's got it surgery. He's probably like, just do this for right now, and then afterwards we'll have surgery after the fight. Because here's the thing, you know, same with Moicano this weekend, you know, with his injury and him fighting through the injury and him, you know, not taking the foot off the gas pedal.
And getting the finish too.
And getting the finish. So as a fighter, if you're a fighter, you don't want to get out of the fight. You don't want to drop out of the fight. So I can only imagine the pressure on O'Malley being the champ, right, and not wanting to back out from the fight after it's already been a whole big thing and a build up, and, you know, there's a lot of pressure on him that way, you know, because I've been there and injured before, and me like, man, like, dude, I've sold all these tickets, you know, people were counting on me to come to the fight. Like, I've already taken all this money from sponsorships, you know, for this fight. You know, like I'll miss out on a payday. You know, I won't make the money for the fight that if I win, you know, and all these things. And so you put all that, and you're like, oh my God, like I gotta fight, right? And that's, you know, O'Malley's been fighting for a long time, you know, and so I'm sure that was a lot of a big. Because here's the thing, when you get more money, you get a lot of different things now, and dude's got a lot of cool things now.
Yeah, to say the least, dude. But put
got
yourself in his
toys.
position, though, right? Say you're fighting at the highest level. You are getting paid regardless, right? The sponsors don't even really matter at this point because your paychecks are so big.
But maybe not, though. But his bills coming in.
I mean, true, right?
You got to think of, and this is where a lot of fighters, they get a little bit lost with things. And so, at least for him, I think he has other assets. He's tied up in some other businesses and stuff. I think he has some other stuff.
I think the dude said that his merch makes him a shit ton of money. But yeah, he also owns properties.
So he's doing things a little bit smarter, and that's what I want to try to. Man, I was at Ring of Combat, and it was the first time me and Austin went up there, and we're in the back room and we're talking to guys, and some guys are talking, you know, from, you know, that Fight Pro, and they're talking about, you know, taxes and stuff like that. And I was like, you know, you guys need to be writing off all your training fees and equipment and everything, supplements, training coaches, anything related to your pro fighting career. You need to be writing that off in your taxes, right? You know you can do that. So it's not even like you're making extra money. You're actually losing money in your fighting career, and so that's what I would do. I would do my own taxes. And so now when I went back again with Austin for one of the fight, and one of the guys was like, dude, you gave me like tax advice. I'm like, I was like, oh yeah. He was like, yeah, dude. He was like, man, Robert, he was like, nobody had ever really told me anything about that or talked to me about it. And it's like, yeah, it's like nobody ever told me about it either. I just kind of like, wait a second. I was like, I made $4,000 in fighting this year, and then it's all these sponsors and different things like that. But I also had to pay for medicals. Boom, tax right off for that for my fighting career, my training, my coaches. Whether I used to write my mileage off because I would go on a MapQuest, I think it was then, and I would calculate from my house to the gym, my house to the venue, and back, and all these miles, and I would add them all together, and then they give you a percentage of, you know, of those mileage, right? They'll give you a
depending on the state. It's like, I think here in this state it's like 56 cents a mile or something.
I don't remember. I haven't done it. I have an accountant now, and I don't really do that anymore except for like going to tournaments and stuff now. But
right off your cell phone.
Yep, your cell phone, because you're doing deals and everything over your cell phone more than likely, right? Like you're talking to people, so that's definitely a tax write-off. And, you know, your supplements. So I would have all my, you know, I would get everything emailed me. All my receipts I get emailed, and then that way I can go throughout the back of the year, and I just go through all, you know,
and add it all up.
I add them all up. Boom. There it is. And if they need the receipts, I have the receipts. If they come knocking at my door,
you're right.
You know.
Yeah, and then on that 4,000, one that you hadn't mentioned yet was taxes. I mean, you're a subcontractor, so you have to pay taxes on that at the end of the year as well.
Yeah.
And before you know it, 50% of your money's gone.
Yep. So so if you do that $4,000, that's why you can write off all those taxes, write off all those expenses. You don't have to pay anything.
Right. Kind of dampens the blow from all the
man, I used to get money. I used to get money back, man, because because of that. That helped me so much, because I remember doing it one time and I had to pay. I was like, what? I'm like, man, let me see what else I can put in here.
Right. Going back to the O'Malley thing real quick, you know, of him fighting with the injury and going through camp. So I get it from a fighter's perspective and, like the warrior mindset. But would it not be the smarter thing to do to pull out?
Yes, but again, pressure, fans, people wanting to see you. He's the main event at the Sphere. It's a historical event, right? Like,
I mean, I get all right. So I didn't think about that. That one and done.
You got to think of.
Event,
he probably did get a cortisone shot.
Yeah,
definitely. I've gotten 4 in this elbow. 4 from tendonitis, so bad. Like, I mean, hyperflexion. So I would spar and I get kicked, boom, and it would flex in. And I was supposed to fight in Kuwait with Blake. I was going out with Blake Grice. Blake Grice was going to be a referee, but then also corner me.
You could do that?
Yes.
Damn. Oh, well, I guess it's in Kuwait.
He was like, your corner will be me. And I was like, okay. I was like, awesome. I was fighting this dude, Elder. I can't remember his name, but he was like one of Khabib's training partners, man. He was 6-0. I was either 4-0 or 6-0. I can't remember at the time. 4-0, 6-0, or 6-2, something like that. Anyways, I was going to fight him in Kuwait, and then, man, I was literally 2 weeks or something like that. I couldn't even straighten my arm, dude. Like, I mean, my arm was like this. So I kept it there, and dude was like, hey, man, like, why don't you go get a cortisone shot in that? And somebody had already taken the fight. Tanner Saraceno took my spot. And that was his first pro fight. Okay. Went out there and but anyways, I would have been fighting in Kuwait. I was so pumped about that, like fighting in Kuwait, and so I had to turn down that fight because like I was injured because of my elbow. Then fast forward, I was like a week later, I was like, man, I'm going to go get a cortisone shot. Went and got a cortisone shot, and it was good. It was better in like 2 or 3 days. Mm-hmm. I would have fought in a couple days,
right?
So, but when did he hurt his labrum? Was it at the beginning of the camp? It says 10 weeks.
That seems like just about a whole camp.
So you get a cortisone shot, it might wear off or do even more damage. You injure it, right, and it gets even more damage throughout that 10 weeks,
right?
Where it has to have
wait till a couple days before the fight and get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I did, right? So with my elbow, but you also need to train. Like it would shut me down, dude. Like my elbow would hurt so bad, I'd lose all like feeling in my arm. I'd drop it to the ground, and if that happened in a fight, right? Like, man, it was nerves. Mm-hmm. My nerves would just like a guitar string. Yeah. It's just screaming in my fucking arm, man.
For a second though, I want to give you a scenario, and I want you to really try to put yourself in that position and tell me what you would do.
Good.
Okay. So you are in Sean O'Malley's position, right? You have the same injury, let's say 10 weeks out, and you're at the Sphere. Everything's the same. Okay. At this point in your career, you're making millions of dollars every fight. You have other sources of income, pretty sizable income, and you are the champ, right? And you're defending your belt. You get this injury, you go through parts of your training camp, and then ultimately you sit down with your coaches and you have to make a decision. Are you going to fight, right? It's a historic event and everything else, or pull out. And then you're presented with these things to think about, right? Like, so you're defending your belt. You are the champion, which means you are the cash cow, right? If you fight and you lose, obviously that belt goes away. Some of your star power is going to go away. Some of your fans are going to turn against you and say you got exposed, blah, blah, blah. If you pull out, you might catch flack for it, but we've all heard the term live to fight another day. Then when you come back and fight again, you're still the champ. You've had time to recover, and you don't have – I'm not saying that Sean had this, but you don't have mentally like a built-in excuse before the fight. Well, I wasn't 100%, So when you're presented with all that and you're at the table with your coaches and you're just going over everything, like, where's your mind at?
It just, man, most all the time it's fight. You know,
Right.
like we have to fight, and then I've never been in O'Malley's position where I've had
Right.
these people around me. You know what I'm saying? But it's always like you don't want to pull out, right? So it had to be a decision, right? It had to come down to a decision. It was like, all right, what are we going to do to that now?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and if everybody wasn't in agreement with it, you know, then we had to pull out. But it's just, but he also is like, nah, I'm fucking fighting, dude. Like, I am fighting.
Which, I mean, you have to
You
have to appreciate that.
And he probably is like, man, I can beat this motherfucker without this hip. But then, you know, let's say, and then you come out to the fight and it's like, oh, man, we're here. Oh, man, like, I don't know if I'm ready. Like, I've been there, right? Like, I don't know if I'm ready for this, dude. Oh, man, this is going to be hard, you know? So
you think you would have?
Yeah, definitely I'll pull the trigger for sure. I mean, Sphere, millions of dollars, you know.
Yeah,
yes.
it is millions of
Again,
dollars.
he's still new into the millions of dollars game. You know what I'm saying? Like, the guy is just, he hasn't been making a lot of money for very long. You know what I'm saying?
No,
and he's not wealthy as
from
Conor
the
McGregor.
fighting aspect, no.
Yeah. So
but
you
outside of that, I think
yeah.
all combined, he's probably been making a couple million the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm not a fight. I don't have like that Warriors mentality or mind state. So like, I'm gonna say something very vanilla. Like, I'd have pulled up. I'd have just been like, hey, you know, I'm gonna live to fight another day, and people can get mad they want, but next time they see me, I will be the O'Malley that they want to see. You know what I mean?
I know, man. But it's just, it's hard.
I get it,
It's
man.
hard, man.
And I can kind of like, I can understand it. For sure.
I've always been injured in just about every fight, you know.
Well, that's a good point too. When you train like that all the time, you're
banged
always
up.
going to
You're
be
banged up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's something's going to be
banged
wrong.
up.
And then Hanato. This past weekend.
With his shoulder.
Yeah, and also like, it was in France, right? But he fought a guy that was very strong up and comer on a bit of a losing skid.
Yeah.
But then again, Dustin Poirier. I mean, you know, you fight guys like that.
Yes, you're gonna lose.
Well, yeah, there's a good chance of it. But I don't know exactly what happened in his shoulder. Is this the clavicle up here?
So your clavicle is in the front, so I don't really even know what that is in the back.
I don't know what it is either,
it's
but
something
whatever
to
it
do with
was,
the
it looked
shoulder.
broken.
Yeah, it looked like you had a separated AC joint.
Okay.
Yeah, your AC joint, it looks like where it connects, there's a bone right there, right? And that, boom, it was popped out off of that. And that's where your AC joint is. And so usually that's from like takedown, landing on your shoulder, different things. I broke my clavicle and separated my AC joint from landing on my shoulder. I was training for a fight and boom, landed. I had to pull out from a fight because I couldn't even throw a right hand, man.
Right.
But my clavicle was broke. You know, like, I mean, dude, it hurt.
I bet.
So bad.
I bet.
And I remember being in the ER trying to throw a punch, and I was like screaming in pain. And I was like, messaged the dude. I was supposed to be fighting in Ohio for a title, my first title ever. And ended up 2 weeks before the fight, got hurt. So I was like, you know, it was all the way in Ohio. I want like $1,000. I was gonna make $1,000, right, to fight, and 1,000 to win. And
can you get a cortisone shot anywhere?
yeah, you can.
I've never got one. I
Yeah,
sure
so I injured my knuckle right here. No, this one right here. See that knot right there?
Yeah, dude, you got a little boulder on your knuckle.
See that? So that right there, it was an injury, and I got a cortisone shot on my knuckle right here. And so I think over time it's just calcium now.
Yeah.
It's calcium build up.
And it doesn't hurt anymore, huh? So now your knuckle's just gigantic right there.
Yeah, it's just rock solid, bro. Boom. Smack a dude. Like when you hit with your fist, man, you want to hit with those first 2 knuckles anyways. But what I did, I was throwing an overhand and I didn't turn it over, and I hit with the outer side of my knuckle on somebody's forehead sparring one day without any wraps on. And I think it might have chipped a bone or did something in there to where now it's,
I learned that lesson, hitting with the first 2 knuckles, the hard way, dude. I did that.
Did you break your hand?
Well, I pushed my pinky knuckle back to here.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Like a boxer's punch?
Boxer's fracture.
Boxer's fracture,
Yeah.
And that was like the emblem for the karate school growing up was a fist with 2 black dots right here to kind of indicate when you throw a punch. That's how it's supposed to. So I knew how to, but it was just like, it was my first street fight.
You're like,
and
that's what I'm trying.
Bus.
Man, that's what I try to explain to these people in here. And it's like, and the parents, they want their kids to do striking classes.
Right.
And I said, so all right, so if you want them to do striking classes, should just be for sport and just judging distance and range, right? Like, yeah, it's good to know some kicks and punches and stuff like that, but if you're really trying to get your kid ready for self-defense, they need to wrestle. They need to learn how to get on top, control a person, and control a human being, and preventing them from. You can't punch really anybody when their face is buried into your chest and they're on top of you, right? So we want the kids doing jiu-jitsu. So we used to have a striking program here for kids, and we switched it all wrestling, and then we just have wrestling and jiu-jitsu for kids now instead of striking and jiu-jitsu. And because kid throws a punch, he's gonna hit the top of the head. He doesn't know where to hit. They're just swinging a swing, man. And you're going to, boom, hit the top of the head, break their hand. Now you got a kid in the cast.
That was me.
So.
And it was like right before summer break, so I couldn't do anything in the water.
Yeah, man. So, Walker's son, he just punched something after at school and broke his hand. Yeah, and he's out for a while. Hadn't have surgery on his hand.
Oh, dang. So he didn't punch somebody. He punched something.
Punched the wall or something.
That,
or a locker or something. He was, yeah.
I've learned that the hard way too.
Man, you ain't harder than a brick wall.
Yeah, dude.
But it's like you want to fight through those injuries too. You know what I'm saying? Like I hurt my knuckle. I remember hurting my knuckle. And then I fought, I got the cortisone shot, fought. I was in the fight trying to hit the guy, and I could feel it. I had hurt. I was in full mount on him in the 3rd round. I thought, man, I couldn't punch him with my right hand. My elbow was like swollen and bruised right here from like catching kicks. I took the fight on a week's notice. I cut like 25 pounds for that fight.
Dang.
And I was in full mount, and I just couldn't really do, and I was tired.
Yeah.
And man, I remember my knuckle just hurting so bad in that fight. Yeah. But cortisone shots help. It's just, whether or not sometimes they stick, sometimes they don't. Meaning, I remember the first time I got mine, man, for 3 days, my arm was like super tight, and I was like, oh my God. And then it just started loosening up, so I was really worried. I was on the way to weigh-ins for my first title, when I won the title in Virginia. I got a shot in my elbow like 2 days before, a day before, and we were on the weigh-ins, man, and I'm like, man, my elbow is not feeling good. And I was like, called the place, and they're like, yeah, it should be starting to feel good in the next day or so. And I'm like, oh my God, I fight tomorrow. And so by the time the next day rolled around, I was ready to go, man. It was money.
And cortisone, correct me if I'm wrong again, I've never had it, right? But
it's
just
steroid.
Like a mask.
It's a steroid,
pain, though, right?
Yeah, it's a steroid shot.
Right, so it's not healing anything. It's just helping. It's a pain reliever.
I can't remember what exactly it does, but it's not good for long-term use, right? You get it. I've gotten too many in my elbow. like, but as a fighter, I would go to one person and I go to the next person and keep track of how many cortisone shots I was getting. I knew, because eventually some of them they won't give you 2 within a certain time period, you know, and I need, you know, if I was wanting to fight, you know, I think he's got a client.
Huh?
I think Nick's got a client.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, we got to talk about some injuries and stuff today. I guess fighting through them. And I had something I was going to say. It just left me.
My bad, man.
No, it's not your fault. It's just, I'm over here just like looking around and shit. But yeah, almost to 1,000. Once we get there, I think we're going to try to do like a online shop. And then we'll even post that and the next element one up there, because then we'll be able to, you know. Yep. So try to get some merch or something together. But yeah. You want to take us out? Yeah.
Please like, comment, share, subscribe if you like our content and want to hear more about it. Please. I think this is our 75th episode as far as like us talking. Mm-hmm. We've got some embeddeds and show like different people, you know, show their training, showing the behind the scenes, the weight cuts, the weigh-ins, the friendships, and all these different things. So thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys. Real quick before we get out of here, we got fights this weekend.
Man, I was trying to hold it.
Fights this weekend?
Fights this weekend. Jamil Temple in Columbia, South Carolina for Conflict MMA. We got Skylar Thrasher. She's fighting. And Britton Kane's fighting as well. And then we got, you know, BKFC's coming up October 26th here in Myrtle Beach. We're in the co-main event on that with Jeremiah, so we got some stuff coming out with that you're doing. So yeah. We're
gonna be doing another embedded for that. That'll come out probably after the fight. It's gonna be a bit longer of an embedded. I'm kind of structuring it more like a documentary. So we'll see.
Cool.
That shit always changes though, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Till next time.
Later.